All right, welcome to the first of its kind, world-changing manufacturers network. Lisa Ryan has her ears to the ground and her heart in the game. Get ongoing education and new connections right here with Lisa and the Manufacturers Network. Buckle your seat, listen, and spread the word. Here's Lisa.
Hey, it's Lisa Ryan. Welcome to the Manufacturers Network podcast. I'm excited to introduce our guest today, Dr. Chuck DeBettignies. Dr. Chuck is a gain-sharing expert that has more than 20 years' experience working with manufacturing companies to improve productivity, get everyone focused on the most important things, and tie their pay to results. He's helped more than 300 corporations in the U.S. and Europe develop their own gain-sharing systems and is the president of Gain Sharing, Inc. Dr. Chuck, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Lisa. It was terrific being here with you.
So share with us a little bit about your background and what led you to doing what you do.
When I was a little kid, in grade school, I lived in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I went to a school that's very close to the Indianapolis 500 Raceway. And it's a 2.5 mile oval. So when the cars were on the far side of the track, you couldn't hear them. But when they got on the close side of the track, it was so loud that the teacher would just stop talking at the front of the room. And as a 6-year-old boy, it just doesn't get any better than that. And I was really taken by these drivers and these teams where the drivers love what they do so much that they would die at work. And then on the radio stations and at night, they would talk about it. At night, the teams would take the whole car apart and inspect every piece and put it all back together. And I was just taken by how they loved what they did so much that that's all they could think about and wanted to do. And my dad loved what he did. So he'd come home at night and he'd be exhausted. But I can see in retrospect that when I wanted to do something, I was excited about it. But I could see some people were excited about what they were doing every day. And others were in this, thank God it's Friday, or whatever that phrase is. And I can see in retrospect that if I didn't figure this out, I might end up with the people who aren't having any fun. And so I've always loved work. And so when I went off to college, I got to thinking, some companies are like these IndyCar teams, that everybody's excited about what they're doing. And so what happens? How are these companies created? How do you make this happen? And that was really a fascination for me. And to make the story a little shorter, I ended up in work psychology, and as a graduate student, you're a servant. That's how it goes. The professors have this research, and you do the grunt work and all that. I ended up as a graduate student with a professor that had a gain sharing system. So late at night, I'm looking over his shoulder, what are you doing? And when he told me about this project, I said, that's what I want to do. And he laughed and he said, yeah, when you find out you're going to be on the road all the time and everything you have to give up, you'll change your mind. And I didn't. And he and I were like a 2-man team, like Batman and Robin, and away I went. Because gain sharing is a powerful tool to get everybody in a company tied to really driving the performance and tying their pay to the result. So, they have skin in the game there, but then also setting it up so they know what they need to do today and how it ties to this overall goal. And so it's like a game that they're playing, and it pulls them in to where they take action and they're getting feedback and they're seeing, are they pulling their weight in making this happen? And then they see how the different departments are coming together to get the final result. And it pulls them in, literally like a game that they're playing. And then you get a group of people and they get focused on something and get feedback, the performance will improve. It doesn't matter if it's a little league team or what you're talking about, they'll do better. And then when they see that, did we work harder? I don't know that we really did. We just put a plan together and didn't get away from it, and we made more money. We should do this all, and now they're pulled in. And so I've worked with a number of metal fabrication companies, and it really is a good fit for that type of thing, where, if I'm in the punch department or the brake press, I'm working on the jobs that I'm working on, and I'm trying to hit rate and all that. But we're also looking at how this flows to assembly and ends up to a final product, and are we going to hit the total shipping numbers, production numbers for the week? And now it's like a game with the flow and one hand washing the other, and it's really powerful and exciting. And
so what's the difference then between gain sharing and profit sharing?
Yes, yeah. And this is a common question. With a profit sharing company, you're sharing the profits, of course, usually at the end of the year, but it doesn't tell the people what they need to do to make that happen. With a gain sharing system, usually it's a monthly payout And so there's more frequent payout, but we're telling the people every week, every day, and giving them feedback about what they need to do to pull that performance together and where they are so they can adjust. And it's not that profit sharing is undesirable or bad. It's not uncommon that a company has both profit sharing and gain sharing. Actually, I was in Chicago this week talking with a company that has a year-end bonus and they want to keep that. But they really want to amp up the performance because the little boys and girls aren't good in July because Santa Claus is coming in December. You need to link things up, and people need the feedback. If I don't know how I'm doing, I think I'm putting in a good effort, but I need to be able to adjust what I'm doing to get to the result along the way. And taking action and getting feedback is more than 80% of what it takes to make something like a game. So although profit sharing and gain sharing, the names sound quite similar, they're very different.
Yes.
That's quite common.
And because this is really my introduction into what gain sharing is as well. So it reminds me a little bit of I like the gamification aspect of it because you can see the goals ahead. And like you said several times, it's like a game. But it also reminds me of Jack Stack's open book leadership.
Yes.
The great game of business, because that transparency of letting employees actually know the numbers and trusting them to see the process, not being afraid that if they're saying, oh no, the company's doing really well, we're going to have to give all these people raises, or, oh no, the company's experiencing some problems where now we're afraid that they're all going to leave because they're afraid. It's no, when you trust your employees with the numbers, their efforts, and how they're working together as a team, it sounds like it's a great way to have all the transparency and what you need for that workplace culture of trust.
Yes. Yes. And giving them that information, like Jack Stack talks about with the great game of business, it's a drip education kind of thing that often employees don't understand things like profit and expenses because they're just not exposed to it. I can't speak Japanese or German. I don't know. But once you educate them, now they start connecting these dots. And people are very intelligent and they absorb this and connect those dots very quickly. And it really is very powerful.
And again, and that is so much sense, because when you think about one of the top cases of stress for people is financial. And if they start to understand how profit and loss works and how all of these different things actually work, it can also translate them into the way that they're managing their finances at home.
Yes.
And give them just a better ground to take care of themselves and get rid of that stress.
Yes. Yes. And getting that drip education, it takes the emphasis away from effort. Because as every business person knows, the customer wants the result. And do they care how hard you worked? Not really. They just want their thing. They want it on time and they want it right. So when you can show the employees that, okay, if we can find a way to get this without as much effort, with all the lean ideas, they're just fitting right into that. How do I get to this end result and reduce the effort on the way? This is good. And now they're tied into that. So the company and the people really have the same objectives. Whereas before, the company has sales and throughput and cost containment and all those things, but the people are paid for their time. So they're really linked to two different things. And now this pulls it together yeah, quite powerful.
Yeah. So when it comes to the traditional way that people are paid, how do you see that introduces a conflict between the workers and the company?
It really connects to what I was just touching on there, that most people are paid for their time. They're hourly, so it's straightforward, or their salary. And even with salary, you're expected to put in your time. And so people pay attention to that. And then following the laws that we have in our country, after a certain point, you get time and a half for the time you put in. So they get a 50% bonus if it takes more time. Now, I'm not trying to indicate that people do things to make that happen or there's something nefarious going on here. But if you get a 50% bonus or something, do you notice? Yeah. And so the point is, with the way we have things structured, it really doesn't reward people for emphasizing the performance. They want to do a good job and do their part and all that. But we're really not linked. They're tied to the time they put in. Whereas the company, if you're a management person, you're evaluated by the kinds of things that a bank would look at. What's the total revenue for this period? What's the cost? What's the profit and all that? That's what the management is being evaluated on and is focused on. So it's just a crazy thing that the way we've set this up as management, we're not linked to the same thing. So with the gain sharing system, the people still have their hourly pay, salary, hourly, but now we're tied to this total end. And one of the most important parts of this is each week, each month, we put together a plan. I call it defining what good looks like. So who wants a bonus here? Who wants to make more money? Okay, this is what we need to do this month in terms of the total production and the costs and all these things. And we have enough orders to hit this production. So this is like straightforward. And these are the numbers we need to achieve. And we do this regularly. So we're just lining up what good looks like. And then I want to break it down into what the different departments need to do. So that rolls up. And then in the department, people see this is what I need to do today so that my department hits its numbers and it all. So now they're tied to this total through line. And when you give them feedback and they're taking action and things adjust and all, it pulls them in like somebody playing a little video game.
Yeah.
I travel a lot and I don't know much about video games and all that. I always have too much on my to-do list, but I've always got a chuckle. You go back to the back of the plane and then as you're walking back from the back of the plane, you see all these people that have these little things they're doing because they like it. These little games and challenge. People really like that. And then when you link that so that they see if we just get focused on these things and make it happen because that's what I want to do, and then it ends up with the total coming together and then making more money, it's addictive. But now the company and the people are pulled together and it's really terrific. It's really exciting.
That's awesome. And in my notes here that you sent to me, you said that there are the essential parts of an effective gain sharing program. So I'm going to read them through so that they're all in a list, and then we'll talk about that, what that means to put together. So the 80-20 numbers, incentives, the overall plan, feedback, boots on the ground connection, and then fixes.
Yes.
So let's start with the 80-20 numbers. What does that mean?
Yes. So with any pay for performance or gain sharing system, it's important that we find the factors that are driving the profits, kind of like a lever relationship. And whenever I talk about this, people tease me. I always got to grab a pen and pinch it in the middle and move it like a little seesaw lever. So it follows the Pareto principle that many people are familiar with. So I want to find those few things that are driving the majority of the financial result. And then we want to reward people for being successful, driving those things that are driving the business success. And then I want an overall plan, like we were just talking about, defining what good looks like. If I'm going to have a good month or a good week or whatever it is, I need to have this 30,000-foot view of, okay, so what are we trying to achieve? Then I want to give feedback as I'm going through the month, through the week, through the day. And this feedback is on different levels on the departmental level and then the group level or maybe individual workers if that is appropriate. So the people can make adjustment in real time because it doesn't go like you think, whatever your plan is. And as we've talked about, that really pulls people in, given that feedback. And then I want what I call the boots on the ground connection. And this is really important and something that many companies really struggle with. And that's where the individual worker knows what they need to do today to be doing their part so that they're going to hit their little areas numbers so that it rolls up to that total. Companies often put together their goals for the month or whatever. They can tell you what that is. But if I'm looking at like in a metal fab place, they can tell me here are the orders that are set up to ship in a week or a month. But then can I roll back to the departments and say what has to happen in these different departments this week? And then can I go to the guy in laser or brake press and say, okay, here's what you need to do today so that your department hits it so that it ties all the way. That individual worker has to know. You got to have that boots on the ground connection or you're missing it. Because otherwise, the person is just showing up and trying to be energetic and get through the day, and they don't know, am I hitting my number or not? So it's really important. And that's really where motivation and connection and all happens at that boots on the ground level. And then in the course of putting this plan together and trying to achieve it, there's going to be things that don't go right. And in a cause and effect world, if I had a plan and I didn't achieve the plan, there's a reason why I didn't hit the plan. And there's some little problem. There's something in our system that needs to be changed so that I don't have that problem again. But this is really where the gains come from. Let's just say I run out of material, or I get the incorrect material. So some kind of goofy system thing, right? It's like sanding down a bump on a surface. Once you remove that bump, you don't hit that again in the future. And once you remove these problems, it becomes easier to plan the work and work the plan. And in the beginning, with gain sharing and bonuses and all this, everybody always thinks effort. But this is really where we can end up having greater performance, hitting better numbers consistently without as much effort, because we're removing these crazy things that happen in our system. And we're doing this on a consistent weekly basis. Each week, here's my goal. How did I do? What are the major problems we had? What are we going to fix or adjust so that I don't have that again? And pretty soon, the performance goes up substantially. Usually within 30, 60, 90 days, the performance, when you're consistently putting together the plan and eliminating the problems, the performance goes up dramatically just in that quick period of time.
Yeah, so much of what you just said reminds me of just the kind of what makes up good workplace culture to begin with, giving that feedback individually to people, having that boots on the ground connection where people feel that they're a part of the mission, that they really feel that they're included and valued, and being willing to admit mistakes, to fix them so that you're not the emperor that's not wearing clothes. You probably you probably would know what I'm talking about. There was way back in the early days, I think it was a GE study where they were measuring productivity and they noticed that it went up, but then it was primarily what they noticed is it was because they were paying attention to the workers.
Oh, yeah.
Productivity went up. So this has so many of that efforts. When we just pay attention to the people, it goes back to the early days of determining productivity, of just including people as people and paying attention and getting their feedback that rolls into a highly productive and a fantastic workplace culture.
Yes. And that always works as a management thing. When you're paying attention to some kind of performance or productivity measuring and giving feedback, it works every time. And every parent that's had, I'll say teenagers, they know that too, that if you start paying it, did you brush your teeth? Not for teenagers, but did you brush your teeth? And is your toothbrush wet? They'll start trending towards making that happen. So it works everywhere. You find something, some kind of performance, and you pay attention to it and you measure it and give feedback. Works every single time. Yeah.
So how much productivity improvement is common when somebody starts putting this kind of program into play?
So if a company has work to do, we're not like in an economic downturn or something, there's work to do, and they will do what we're talking about, where we're putting together the performance we want and then seeing where we're missing it and make adjustments and take action on these things, not just talk about them, but take action. You'll have a 5% improvement unless you ruin it yourself. It's just straightforward. Now, from there, it's not uncommon that companies quickly get to 10, 15. I had a place that makes plastic tanks for fire trucks in Texas. And in their first month, they had a 17% improvement in performance, just from what we're talking about here. Now, that doesn't happen every time for all the legal, but it happened. Or the people
are not indicative of future performance.
But all that legal. But as I'm saying, 5% is kind of the low number. And then it just depends on the circumstances, the weather at the moment, so to speak. But usually I'm targeting like a 10% bonus when I'm starting with the gain sharing system and thinking about the first year. We should be dancing at 10, 7. It will be beyond 5, and where can we get from there? And it just depends on the particulars for the place. But what you're doing is you're laying out what the target is, and you're breaking it down, and you're going directly at that consistently week by week. And then when you stack on top of that you're eliminating the goofy problems that you typically have. And wherever you are in your company, you can probably make a quick list of the repetitive stuff, the rocks in your shoe that, Why are there only a certain number of people that know how to do that certain kind of welding? Why don't we cross-train more people or whatever the stuff is? When you start addressing that, it really makes a difference in the system and the performance very quickly.
Yeah. And it seems that it would be easy enough to get buy-in because you're talking about direct money into people's pocket. But there's always, especially in manufacturing plants, if they don't have the best they don't have the best culture, and people see it as yet another program to just get more work out of me. So how do you, when a company comes in, the management gets all excited about it, but how do you start to translate, to have those conversations to get that boots on the ground connection and to let employees know that, no, this is something that really is going to benefit you, not just the organization?
So this is a really good question, Lisa. And this is always there. Whether, it's evident or not, it's always there. So when we implement, there's always going to be these doubters because they're basing their expectations on what's happened in the past. And so now we put together the plan, and then in a given department, let's just say in brake press. So we have our schedule, and here are the jobs and the number of people I have and all. So this is their part that we need to get, whether it's standard hours or jobs, or they can see this is a reasonable amount of work to get done with what we have, the people and the equipment and all that. And then so that's really important that they see this isn't some new track record, some impossible goal. These are regular numbers. Then I want them to hit those numbers. So anyone that has more than one child, they can relate to this. Did you clean up your room? She didn't. No. Did you clean up your room? Don't talk about it. It's the same dynamic. So if we put together this plan, and then if each department does their part, the total rolls up. It's just arithmetic. Beginning, they're going to be thinking what you're talking about. Oh, they don't love me enough for what I already do, and now they want more. And no, did you hit your numbers? Because if you hit your numbers, the total's going to. So this all happens, and then these doubters, when the numbers roll up, and they get a bonus, then you have this mental dissonance. If this is baloney, I just got to check. They're just throwing the dog a bone, right? This will never happen again. And then you do it again, and now they get 2 checks. Now, if this is baloney, it's happening regular. I don't know what's going on. And once you get past 2 checks, then this is a real deal. We need to pay attention to it, and that kind of fades away. But that's always there, and I like that. And sometimes, Lisa, when you implement one of these, you'll have this kind of vocal doubter.
Oh, yeah.
I want you to know this company will take advantage of you and this will never work. And usually those people will become as strong an advocate for it as they are against it. So I almost feel like, let's introduce ourselves because you and I are going to be working together. You just don't know this yet. Because it's all based on just fundamental stuff. The success from gain sharing. It's like going to the gym. If you do the exercises and you eat right, whatever that means, and you get enough rest, you'll do better. It's just fundamental stuff. And the gain sharing is the same way. It's based on things like feedback and goal setting and fixing problems. These are fundamental things that always work. So there you go. But I think that's fun with the doubters and all that and getting past that. Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because I talk about that a lot working with my clients because like you just verified it. Usually if you can get the loudest dissenter to buy into the program, you include them. Oh, Billy Bob, what do you think about this? You've been doing this for a long time. We would love your feedback. And then, like you said, you turn that person around and then the rest of the plant are idiots because they're not following this.
Right. Yeah.
So are there particular kinds of companies, sizes of companies, anything along those lines that work better for this?
Yeah, it really is a kind of a mindset thing primarily. It's a good fit for leaders, management people, owners, whatever that all is, that are excited about their business, and they want everyone to have the same sense of excitement about the opportunities and all that as everyone else. And on top of that, it really works well for the people who, let's just say you have a metal fabrication place. They've been the direct labor worker, and there's a respect. And it's a funny thing that the people pick up on it very quickly when they can tell that the management and all that you're shoulder to shoulder, no one's ahead of each other. That it just, you can just, I don't know, they sense it very quickly. But that's a good fit too. And then when they really have the candid communication is really good too. When you get to the point, whatever it is, and get on with it.
So what's the number one reason a company should consider gain sharing? All things that we talked about.
I would say to be the bigger, stronger, competitive animal in the marketplace for all the good that does, so that you can do good in the world in your marketplace, but then also create the kind of opportunities for your employees to make money and grow and prove themselves. And really having an exciting work life is really important. And we can create that environment in many ways, kind of like an engineer engineers a bridge. There's certain, when you put these 6 pieces in place that we went through with the 80-20 and all the rest of those, you're putting the pieces in place that pull people into their work and make it more exciting. And this is a continuum, right? You're not going to keep going back to what I was saying with the IndyCar drivers. You can set this up so that people are getting more of what they need out of life from their work, because they're going to be working anyway. They might as well have it rewarding and involving. And when that's better, when they go home, they're a better person. They're happier and less frustrated and feeling they're better than they were last year and solving problems and all those good things.
And it also seems that it would be a really great way to retain employees because there's so few companies that are doing this right now or are really, I'll just say it, caring enough about their employees to put together a program like this. It's going to be really hard for an employee to leave a company where they're getting regular bonuses, or at least that's know what's going on and feel that they are in the loop all the time and they are directly contributing to a company's success, to go to another organization where they're not going to have that same quality of work life.
That's very true and very applicable to your best employees, because they want the whole list. And that happens where they go someplace else for a little bit more and then they realize, oh man, this is a hollow experience in another place. I want to go back. And that happens when they're welcome back. Often I can just picture some conversations I've had with owners where they say, I remember when I was that young person and I took that other job and then I realized, oh, this is not, I was better off. And so they kind of chuckle and welcome that whole experience.
Yeah, I know. I remember I was working with one group at an association, and there was a person that shared that they had an 85% boomerang rate when people left. 85% of the time they came back.
Wow.
Because I say that when you have an awesome workplace, employees start to think that all workplaces are awesome. They go to that other company and they're like, oh, this is why they had to pay me so much money, and then go back.
And then I'm sure you've experienced, and then those people in the workplace will tell young buck when he's thinking of going across the street for his 50 cents or whatever, oh, wait till you find out what it's like there, bud. And so young buck listens to that, but he still goes across the street. And then when he's over there, oh, he was right. This is
exactly. So I understand you have a new book. So tell us.
I do.
When they can get it, where they can get it.
Yes, the book is The Gain Sharing Revolution, and it's available at Amazon now. And it gets into all the things we've been talking about today. It took me longer than I want to admit to write that book, but I'm very proud to have that completed and available. And it gets into these things that we're talking about. And I'm very proud of that book.
Yeah. Congratulations. Always nice nothing like holding a new baby book in your hand for the first time.
The books it's such a terrific way to connect with people that you meet, and it's really powerful that way.
Yeah. So is there anything that I didn't ask you that I should have, or any additional information that you wanted to share? Because we're getting to the end of our time together, but we covered a lot. Just want to make sure that we covered everything we needed to.
I think we did a good job. We hit all the major points. If people want more information, I'm available at gainsharing.com. And the book that we talked about, The Gain Sharing Revolution, is available on Amazon. And that'll give them a good starting point. I send out regular emails of things that whenever I'm at a client and there's some issue and I know others will resonate with it, I'll put together a little email and you can get on that registry to receive those. But I want to make sure that whenever I'm sending those out, it's something that people are going to resonate with and want to send to their colleagues. So it's not a spam frequent, but we'll find it really valuable. And that's been rewarding over the years to have people tell me that. But that's available and you can get on that list on the website.
All right. Awesome. Dr. Chuck, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate it. It's been a terrific pleasure. Thank you.
I'm Lisa Ryan, and this is the Manufacturers Network Podcast. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to the Manufacturers Network Podcast. Do me a favor and share this podcast with your friends and colleagues so we can grow this network and connect more fantastic folks just like you. You can either send your buddies to the website at manufacturers-network.com or share the Manufacturers Network podcast on your LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or wherever you and your industry friends hang out. The bigger and faster we grow the network, the stronger and deeper the community we'll all have. Thanks again, and I appreciate you.